Welcome to the 2024 All Islands Art Show. The All Islands Art Show is an annual event held to showcase the visual artists of Haida Gwaii. The adjudicated show is hosted by the Haida Gwaii Arts Council in cooperation with the Haida Gwaii Museum. The show welcomes artists working in a diversity of media and provides the community with an opportunity to appreciate local talent. The All Islands Art Show runs at the Haida Gwaii Museum at the Kailngai Heritage Center from May 3rd to June 28th. The entrance is free to locals from May 3rd to May 31st.
So my name is Dolly Garza, or Skungwai. I'm Haida initially from Alaska. I've lived here for about 15 years. I've been a Raven's Tail weaver since about 1987, I think, when I first started learning from Terry Rothgar, who is my mentor. I have woven for several decades, primarily in the traditional fashion, and this is one of the pieces that starts to step out from that sort of traditional pieces and traditional style. So it's mostly Raven's Tail, but a little bit of Chilkat in the fact that you're weaving back and forth. So technique. And then for the colors, I chose that variegated red because that's one of our clan crests, which is sunset or red sky. And then the design is very traditional. It's called lightning pattern. So the lines that zigzag through it represent the lightning as it runs across the sky. And so I titled the piece Lightning at Sunset. It is made a little bit bigger than you would make a medicine bag so that it could accommodate a cell phone. So it was sort of a fun piece to make.
Looking to reflect the texture of the mighty Chu, I carved and imprinted a variety of clay rollers and stamps, which were then used to emboss a slab of stoneware clay. Glazes were overlapped to create the mist that settles amongst the rainforest canopy. It was twice fired to a final temperature of 1,200 degrees Celsius. As the ceramicist behind Sunfish Studio, I create pots and workshops that explore and encourage the mindful and deliberate pace of island life.
Hi, I'm Valerie Henderson. I'm originally born and raised in Flin Flon, Manitoba, and I spent most of my career working in Alberta. I'm retired now on Haida Gwaii since 2019. I've always been an artist my whole life. I work in many textures and mediums, mostly watercolor and acrylic, but I also use sand and found items in my art as well. The painting that I'm submitting today is number one of a series of trees. I just love the trees here in Haida Gwaii, so my honor to them is to paint them. And the first one is how the bark curves on cedar and twists up the tree. It's a canvas that's textured first, and then I paint it with acrylic. Hope you enjoy it.
I work with felt because I love how it's soft and fuzzy and colorful and easy to sew. I love making random creatures and giving them eyes and other features. These creatures are not from the real world. They are from my imagination, although some of them might resemble real animals. I like sharp edges, clear colors, messy shapes, and uncertain lines. I like hand sewing because it takes a lot of time and forces me to meditate.
My painting is of the Gordon Islands. The Gordon Islands is when you come out of Houston, you're on your way to Skungwai, the west coast. You go through Houston Sturt Channel, and then if you sort of look to, it would be about the southwest, you see this little island there. So it's forested, but then when you get up close, you can see this incredible place. It's got volcanic rock, and there's a little one place with a little tunnel through the rock. It's just a wild place, and there's a lagoon area where you can camp in. And I think one of the most incredible things I've seen at the Gordon Islands was I was camping there one night, and you're looking off to the west, and there's a snag there, and the sun was setting, and there was a heron sitting in the tree in the snag, and it was just this incredible sunset. So there's a heron in a snag, and it was orange and yellow, and I think that view will be forever etched in my brain as one of the incredible sights I've seen down there. And there's also this place you can sort of go high, and then you look to the south, and you can look down at the beach. And I stood up there and looked at it, and I thought, I need a picture of that, and I need to paint it. So this is the painting I came up with. Anyway, that's my story of the Gordon Islands. Thank you.
This is a raven, which is my crest, and an endangered goshawk. This is a snippet of what can happen at the edge of the kelp forest. It was inspired by current events happening in the inlet here. With the killer whales moving in with the feed and the sea lions, there can be tense moments, like in this painting, with the unsuspecting sea lion coming for air, unaware of the danger below.
So my name is Laura Dutay. As part of being an artisan jeweler, I design and engrave original tidal zone imagery onto my handcrafted sterling silver jewelry. The octopus is one of my favorite images. I decided to create a stronger visual bond with the octopus to capture its essence. While drawing and painting this tidal zone creature, I discovered some interesting aspects of this being, like the power of chaos it possessed with its flesh-changing colors known as metachrosis, the imitation factor of its stare, the endless arrangements of so many suckers in all directions, and the enormous size of its skull-like brain. I felt how such a sentient being at the same time during the chaotic presence was able to be in a deep state of visual connection. I enjoyed the rich color schemes, as challenging as they were. I felt energized and inspired by this effort in my connection, and this is carried over to my silver engraving and crafting. Also, since I scaled down my imagery, usually I work in a 1-inch opening, I challenged myself this time to work 3-foot by 4-foot painting, and I felt this very liberating. And it encourages me to do some more explorations like this. Yeah. So thank you.
I'm not very good in the world of artists, but for some lovely reason, when it comes to painting something that I truly care about, my heart moves the paintbrush. I can't explain it. I paint these places from our histories past for my children and for my family. This is a favorite of my sister Ellie's.
Hi, I'm Laura Sample. My piece this year is a photo that was printed on canvas, and it was really exciting when I got a picture of it because the sky was just full of the aurora, more than what I'd seen in a long, long time for here. And it was clear in the beginning, and then the clouds started to form all around it, and they turned green, and so it was just like an aurora storm. And so that's what I called it.
Making this 7-sided lunch plate started with design sketches in a notebook. I then made a few upside-down molds, which I used to make a rubber master mold, followed by a plaster mold. I can now hand make identical plates one at a time that are light and stack well too. I'm excited to have these available as part of the new line of pots I'm currently developing through a mentorship with Linda Christensen. 7 was also the first odd-metered time signature that I explored musically 25 years ago. Unusual at first, but becoming natural over time.
Good day. My name is Noel Bellis. My Haida name is Ginwadlawan Ununsid, and it has a pretty cool meaning. It was given to me by my wife's Nani, and it means the one who knows everything. I've submitted a piece today for the show, and it's a herring rake, which falls under the realm of like a sustenance harvest tool. That's my favorite to create, is to kind of place myself back in time and see, and standing on the floor of the canoe with the rake in my hand and finding the school of herring and pushing it through. And when you're fishing, the idea is to get what you can, and it could be over quick, so you want to move fast and get it done. And making the piece, I was carving it within a couple hundred meters of the dock where we jig our herring now, and I was like, I really want to try this there. And I was like, well, maybe I'll replace it with one made with more contemporary materials because of the amount of time it takes to make the bone points and stuff. Anyway, I really like carving wood and love to spend time out in the yard carving and flagging the kids down to carve for a few minutes here and there, and have them make their own little pieces as well, and purchase anything I can off them because it's all pretty cool. And thank you for your time, and love this show. Just love it to pieces.
I am a Métis, Ojibwe, and Nuu-chah-nulth artist, and use painting and drawing as an outlet to express my heritage and gratitude for land. Using dreamy symbolic imagery, highly influenced by nature, my pieces encompass landscapes, animals, and people. My art style uses a colorful array of cool and mellow tones, as well as resin finishes on my pieces to create a soft atmosphere across my body of work. May each piece convey my wish to walk lightly on this earth with presence deeply rooted.
I'm Kate, and I've made an Irish-style weaving. Traditionally, it's a Irish belt called a kris, and I've just made it wider instead of long. This style of weaving is the same as the earrings that I make, same style, different form. I use lots of different colors in this piece. Like the natural variation of colors in nature is what I really like, but also tweed is an Irish thing that is pretty recognizable, so I kind of use the tweed-esque mix of the colors to be included in this weaving.
Lo-fi meets high-res. Holga plastic lens on high-res digital camera from View with a Room series. In my art, I have been exploring the world of textiles. What began as a love of sewing has become an exploration of natural fibers and dyes, and upcycling one of our most prolific waste products, cloth. This quilt was made using old sheets dyed with indigo and onion skins. It was pieced together on a sewing machine, and then the top stitching was done by hand with Shashiko thread. It is made entirely of plant matter and is an homage to our moon whose phases guide our lives.
My name is Betsy Cardell, and the piece this year for the 2024 Islands Art Show is called Hollies, Peace and Goodwill, and it's a reduction print in lino, and the purpose of this is to try to balance in our world today that there should be more peace and compassion for all of us and for everyone else.
It is fun to contemplate the beginning of an idea, of a flower, of life itself. This work was an act of surrendering to the creative process without knowing what the end result would be. It all started with picking and drying the flowers that were growing in my garden. Perhaps all art begins in this same way, with a small and seemingly simple seed.
I'm Jane Kinnigal. My piece is called What Rose Saw. So I live part-time in Vancouver and part-time up here, back and forth, back and forth. And my connection is Facebook when I'm at either end of my two places. So one day Rose got up and took pictures from her front porch, I think, of the sun rising in front of her house. It's right next to the longhouse, Rose Longhouse. And she put them up on Facebook, and I went, oh, I wanted to interpret them, not copy them, but interpret them. And so I wrote right away to her and said, is that okay? And she said, yes. so I haven't stolen Rose's picture, but it's hers as well as mine. She did the compositions and put them on her camera, and then I did the interpretation and put them on the canvas. Or it's actually board, not canvas.
Octopus bags are a style of traditional fire kit bags made or commissioned as post-wedding gifts between spouses. They are made as far west as Alaska by the Haida and Tlingit, stretching east to the Métis in Manitoba. They are often made of wool and decorated with elaborate beadwork. This leather octopus bag is painted in Chilkat style form line, an ancient and complex form of Northwest Coast wool weaving, traditional to the northern tribes of BC. I have been studying Chilkat with my mentor Sherry Dick. This is one of the projects resulting from our work. Hawa.
I'm Kayoko Doggart, and this piece is called Eagles Tussling. And I need to tell you about it a little bit because it's about last year, 2023. Living through that year was a very difficult year for my family. It was being on a roller coaster. And one set of neighbors, our Eagles, had a bad year too that also started in the winter time. My husband got very ill with a strange illness in the winter, and that was the start of our roller coaster. And for the Eagles, well, when we step out on the porch and look, we can see their nest, but we've been looking at the nest for years. The eagle parents will be building it bigger and better every springtime. And then it got too big finally. They added too much to it. Well, you know, we have our winter storms, and some of the gusts are pretty fierce. Last winter, the eagle's nest fell down to the ground. And in the meantime, my husband and I didn't really notice it because we were wrapped up in his illness. And so it went on. The spring came. My husband and I, we were getting better. I hadn't been able to paint through this. He got better, he got worse, he got better. It was up and down. And when he started getting better again, I started painting. And what I really wanted to paint was the eagles. Chaotic emotions made for chaotic skies with their stormy clouds. As I was working, things got more cheerful, and it crept into the painting too. I maybe made the blue of the sky too blue to suit the clouds, but that was how I felt. And then I also added the little wren bird, because the wren wants to watch the big guys tussling, quietly watching, and that's how so many of us humans are. Just looking at the world and looking at everything that goes on with troubled hearts, troubled minds, but we do the best we can from looking out of our little corners of the world. That's my painting.
Jenna is a visual artist residing in Dajingides. You might recognize Jenna from her stickers, greeting cards, and other delightful goodies that aim to spread joy and whimsy to all who encounter it. However, this piece was inspired by a return to her artistic style from her time in Victoria, BC, where she completed a Bachelor of Fine Arts at UVic. This blend of vibrant and playful geometric shapes invites you to celebrate life's little joys, meant to brighten your day and add a splash of color to your world.
It's inspired by two of my big loves in my life. One is the medium wool that I grew up with, that generationally got passed down by my grandma, by my mother. Spinning wool, weaving, felting. It grounds me, it brings me back to self. I love being in it. And the other is my love for body art, tattooing, combination of the two. It allows me to express myself, to feel deeper, to process what is brought towards me in an artistic way. And this is a first combination of the two, going back to the roots, really.
I am inspired by my background watching fields being plowed in rural England and how wild creatures instinctively escape from predators. Thoughts untangling, beach rocks, little colors, a little glimpse of what can be good.
I'm Janet Rigg. My piece is called Winter Mist. It's a cold wax and oil painting that I learned how to do when I went to Greece this past year in May. I went to the beautiful island of Naxos and got to learn from Lisa Mann. And so it's a technique of mixing oil paints with wax and layering it on the paper and just sort of playing with it and scraping it and using stencils and scratching bits away until you get something that you like. And so I played with it, and what emerged was this sort of Haida Gwaii winter scene. It looks like an abstract scene of wintry trees on the hills. So I called it Winter Mist, like M-I-S-S-E-D, because we didn't really have winter this year, and I missed it. So a little comment on climate change, I suppose, and just a different art form for me. Usually I do big paintings, and I've never used this cold wax before, so something different.
My name is Gid Cooney Lynn Hewen from the Sangalthstastas Eagle Clan. I have been making art since I was old enough to pick up a pencil. I have worked in many mediums throughout my life, including acrylic, pencil pen, permanent pen, in both black and colored, and now just introducing embroidery cotton to see where I can go with that. I am inspired by my surroundings and my culture. If I were to describe my inspirations, I would say it was my home and my culture and my surroundings. I have done pictures of animals and people and illustrated my own book, co-written with my daughter Carson. When I find the time to do art, I find it relaxing, and I like to try to capture the life that surrounds me, whether it be people, places, things. There's beauty in everything, and the story must be told.
My My name is William Frederick Bellis. My entry for the art show this year is a White Raven Feast ladle spoon. The top part of the spoon is made out of blacktail antler with abalone inlays. And the bottom part of the spoon is goat horn, which is traditional. So, yes, my entry for this year, White Raven Feast ladle spoon. Thank you.
As artists, we look to the potential of a photographic image to invoke a story within the imagination of the viewer. What is the story here? That's up to you. I'm so lucky to live in Port Clements, where there is so much wildlife to enjoy. In the morning, with my coffee and binoculars, I watch all kinds of birds out on the water. And on lucky days, I get to watch the otters fishing and playing. I saw in a magazine a picture of a wave and couldn't get it out of my head. It was on my fridge, and one day I thought, I would like to have the wave and the otter somehow together. I'm happy with the result.
Hi, I'm Benedicta Hansen, and my piece is about the union between humanity and creation, between our connection with the forest, our connection with the land, and how all the nutrients and all the elements that are in this earth, we are all part of that. And so it's interesting that these Norse myths have that kind of idea where human beings were created from the driftwood on the beach, and the gods had given them consciousness and a face. And those two things were really important for the understanding at that time. My painting basically is about our connectedness with the forest and the land.
Dean and Leslie's house brings a smile to my face in all seasons, but especially when the cherry blossoms bloom. On writing this statement, I also realized the painting might be an attempt to capture a moment, a day, a place, and celebrate a shared scene in our community. An old house that weathers the seasons, carries many stories, and holds people dear.
Hi, my name is Jamie Diaz. My picture is entitled Lulu, the name of my cat. I find that my kids, the cats, the dogs are who I seem to be surrounded by these days, and they are my muses and my inspiration. I used watercolor, ink, and salt to create my art piece.
This was inspired by fluid art expert Olga Sobi. I loved working with fluid acrylics intuitively, seeing how the colors mix and move together on the canvas. There is always so much energy and chaos created when using the hairdryer to move the paint around. The salmon color I achieved with a mixture of gold and red. The outcome reminds me of those splashing bursts as the salmon travel upstream to spawn.
My name is Dan Schilbeck. I live up in Masset, and this piece is called Gratitude. I love working with bone and wood. It's a mystery. There's curves, and you just start. I work with a Dremel and then sandpaper, and you start, and you end up where you end up. And along the way, there's lots of thoughts that come up. The curves tell you what to do. This bone was found on the east coast, so it's probably from an east beach cow. And the wood is a piece of spruce that was washed up on the beach. And I just feel so grateful to be able to work with these pieces, put them together, and make something that is beautiful.
When I was at Balance Rock Beach, there were lots of eagles sitting in the trees, drying out their wings. This photo is of 2 young eagles. One is a juvenile eagle with brown feathers, and the one in the back is a young eagle with some of the brown feathers still. Created with the falling apart of a stone picked off the beach of Tuktoyaktuk around 1985, this one took its time to show up in public. I wanted to call it Screech Owls for what it was saying when the rock split. Nestled in wielding rod stubs and MIG wire, I finished it recently with dusting, the circular padding, and cedar support. Hope it inspires something in you.
My name is Terry Lynn Wood, and I've been on Haida Gwaii for 8.5 years. My thing is usually photography, but I've had a bit of a hiatus, I guess, with my photography, but my creativity wants to come out. So I was thinking one day and what to do with this box, and thought, I could do my eelgrass stuff. As I work with kids with teaching them about salmon in the Salmon Enhancement Program, Stream to Sea, and we do beach stains with them, and we get lots of different critters out of the water. So I thought, I could actually do an eelgrass meadow and show some of those critters in their habitat. So that's what I did, and I'm really pleased with the way it turned out.
My name is Peter Sloan. The piece I brought in is derived from an image, a photo I took of a plaster relief, which was made by taking jewelry and bones and various stamps that I've made and composing it in clay as a negative, then pouring plaster relief into it, and then painting it. And then with this particular piece, with that photo, I took it into Photoshop and made it into a grayscale, black and white mostly. And then with that image, I made it into a 3D rendering through computer software, which I then got an STL file, which is like a 3D-dimensional file that I could take to my 3D printer. And I printed a low relief of the image. And I've been experimenting with these for a few years now, where I create essentially wood blocks or lino blocks, or another method of getting a relief that I can ink up and run through the press just as you would wood block. I'm having a lot of fun with the results and really enjoying it. So it's a lot of involved work to get it to this stage, from the photo to the, doing the computer work, getting the three-dimensional aspect of it, and then printing it. I coined the word transremediation to describe the process of creating an object, which is like analog, it's physical, and then taking a photo, which is digital, and then using that digital image to create another three-dimensional object. So I'm going back and forth, analog, digital, back, and then experimenting. And I use this process a lot with all sorts of my other artwork that I do. I make jewelry and sculpture and printmaking, and so anyway, that's the gist of it.
This ancient craft was a fishing boat. Now it is a ruin on shore. The trees drop seeds on its deck where they grow. The birds have their picnics there. Some see it as useless. They are blind to the many jobs it does.
My name's Keisha Cheddar. This is my first time submitting a piece for the All Islands Art Show. I did a self-portrait. I'm a nurse in Masset, and I think especially this last year, has been very heavy to be a nurse in Masset. I've just experienced a lot of emotions and feelings around that, and I really needed to kind of put it out there. In my piece, you'll see some puzzle pieces that have become loose or disjointed or disconnected, and to me that represents parts of myself as a nurse that I'm losing, but also the ability to put it back together, which I think helped me just kind of realize that there's still hope in the heaviness right now. Yeah.
In the last 10 years, I've been painting forest scenes and the ocean that surrounds me Hiking and photography are part of my process as I look for scenes and specific trees that convey a deeper meaning for me. For the last 3 years, I've lived full-time on Haida Gwaii and will be opening my studio to the public in the summer of 2024 on Spruce Point, just west of the center of Dajingits.
My name is Lex Forbes, and I normally create sculptural boutiques. This year I've done something a little bit different, as I've found myself this year off island without access to my art materials, staying at my parents' house for a medical trip. My mom is a rug hooker, and she had all the materials and skills and tools. So I tried learning through her traditional skills and applying some more contemporary medium and concepts to my piece this year. My piece is made with leather and denim and wire. It speaks about some medical issues with my eye that I've had recently.
Inspired by Charles Eden Shaw, Bracelet.
Hi, my name is Haley Fields. My piece this year is called Through the Garden Window. It's watercolor and ink on archival paper, framed in cedar. This piece, the original sketch, came to be the first year I lived on Haida Gwaii in 2016, and then it just kind of sat unfinished for a number of years, and recently, I guess in 2022, I did a lino print based on the sketch, and then this year I felt inspired to get back to this piece, and it's based on the 6B planting zone. So each quadrant of the piece is a season, and each item in the quadrant is something that you could plant or sow a seed for a start in that season.
This piece was created as part of a healing journey and is a rendition made from miyuki and antique beads, moose leather, dentalium shells, and wool. I recreate plants to honor the gifts they give. Rose is a heart plant and can show us the beauty in life. When we smell the rose, it can lift our spirits and remind us to embrace what is put forth to us. Along with these spiritual offerings, the petals and hips give us the best source of vitamin C we can find. I am grateful for the rose. Miigwech.
My name's Elian, and my piece is called Sea Cowboy, and it's basically a representation, I think, of if kelp had a life of its own and transformed into something fantastical, like out of a dream. Maybe it would make a lasso or something, because I feel like bull kelp, it's such an awesome plant, and it feels really like a whip when you like play with it on the beach. So yeah, I kind of just had fun with it, and that's what came to mind.
Love for Melissa is a compilation, a sharing of tried and true recipes made and enjoyed over the years in my kitchen, eaten in our home. Good food prepared and shared with others is one of life's pleasures. This collection will be a wedding gift from the daughter of my husband's dearest friend. Hopefully Melissa will make some of these her own and delight in the sharing of the love.
Hi there, I'm Dylan Gibson, and I'm pretty excited to participate again in the art show, and this is my second time. And I got this little piece here, which is inspired by just form in nature. I found a little piece of driftwood, cross-legged, looking like a little yoga guy. And then not too long ago, I was just chopping wood, and out busted this piece, and it just reminded me of some kind of mountain or turret, and I put the two together because they seem to fit pretty good. And it's just my inspiration how nature speaks to me, and I was able to translate that into something that's personal to me in the sense of being in nature and what that brings and the meditation aspect of it and just looking inward, and turned out good. I was up to like almost 7 this morning and putting the last touches on there, but that's the joy of art, right? So there it is, Nirvana, right there.
Ria Bell is a Haida artist based out of Tillel, Haida Gwaii. Ria is of the Itzau Yagujanas clan from the Haida village of Old Masset and has the Haida name Andle Wayan, which means flowing river. Her art education is in the visual arts program, graduating in 2016 with a Bachelor's of Fine Art from Emily Carr University in Vancouver. Sockeye Salmon and Robert Davidson's Salmon Transformation Mask is part of an ongoing series combining realism and a Haida master's artwork. This series is a personal study of how formline represents the physical, supernatural body. Winter is a time of deep dreams. The line between the conscious mind and subconscious dream state is thin. A walk through a dreamscape, listening to the sounds of ancestral voices in the forest, water and birds, light and shadows. The dreamscape is a place where so many stories are shared. This piece comes from a long winter of dreaming.
Hi, my name is Brent Daschuk, reside in Skidegate, BC, and I submitted an art piece that I've been looking at for such a long time that with my clear head and sobriety now, I thought this might be the beginning. My piece is sober thought. I'm happy I'm able to still paint with my hands without breaking anything. Yeah, I've done a couple pieces before. It's just been such a long time. It feels good to do it again, and hopefully I'll stick with it and do much better pieces. Thank you.
I walk this beach most days with my dogs. I'm pretty sure it's their favorite place to be, and it's one of mine too. The sky and ocean are always changing, and it reminds me that life is like this too. Nothing is permanent and always in flux. It encourages us to enjoy the moment for what it is. Sometimes the ocean is wild and chaotic, and other times calm and serene, such as life. Enjoy the ride and look for the treasures she gives us.
I'm Dawn Evans, and this year I've brought in a painting I call Yikes. It's an acrylic painting, and it too is a story about my hiking adventures, which seems to be the subject of most of the paintings I bring these days. Last year it was about some sandhill cranes I encountered on the dunes in November. And this year I was hiking up along the lake when all of a sudden an eagle leapt from a low hanging branch and we were headed for a collision course. And I didn't want to look up or anything, but I could hear him gathering his feathers and flapping like a maniac to get clear of me because he knew that he was going to hit me directly on the head. And I knew as well. I remember just hearing the sound and feeling everything that was going on, and miraculously he managed to get enough air and rose up above me. But it inspired the painting, and the painting actually was very interesting experience because I started thinking about the intersection of things, and that would be the intersection of color and form in a painting. But I realized how much everything that's going on affects the painting, and when you look at something you think, oh, I'll paint that tree. But when you start to paint the tree, then you remember the wind and the light and the things that were around. And so it becomes very complicated to convey the intersection of things and the events that both lead up and follow, because it seems to be all part of the painting. So it was a great learning experience that eagle brought me that day.